Welcome, everyone to the furnace. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, we're all here. We're all alive. We're all breathing. And, this is a place where I'm trying to create where we jump into it. We jump in and we turn the heat up on a lot of life subjects. And I mean all the way up. I want to be able to, something I'm trying to establish that we can talk about all kinds of things, from religion, politics, marriage, kids, society, social media, AI, racism, today's men and women, dating, and much more. Things that we all shy away from, that we all tend to be too scared to talk about or bring up in certain situations without those that we're close to. So, I want to be able to talk about things that separate us, that, keep us from just growing as people. I want to put it all in the fire. I want to put it all in the furnace right here, that we can be purified through that purification of understanding. And I think there's so much just more to each of us. Like I said, I want to create a safe space where we can be ourselves, have our own beliefs, and like I said, just look forward to really just to growing and being better people. So with that being said, I'm your host, King Alba, only submissive to the King of Kings, and love, the enduring and long suffering bonding agent that still holds us together, that still gives us hope today, and on this journey of reflection and truth that we still have. And those are the only things that I submit myself to. Um, a little about me. A little about me. Simple man, like any other, according to biology and desires, struggles, but also much more than a man because of how I live and choose to approach them and the purposing behind me. Um, I don't consider myself any different from anyone, uh, but on how that I choose to live makes me different. So with that, I've been married 13 years to my queen, together for 23, since children really. Me 17, her 15, first child at 18, 16. So you see how that goes, and a lot of the changes that are already there for myself. I've been young, lost, found, and lost again and found again since a child. Um, I've had a lot of different things in my life I would like to get to express at some point. But I've always felt a purpose on my life. I've always felt a calling, and for me, that's God. I'm a God first man, as in God, Yahweh, not the coding of it for myself. Um, no disrespect to anyone or what they believe. I'm not here to. It's not a place where I want to create those angles that separate us. So let's just definitely put that into context as we gather together today to hear, and all who come to hear and come into this space. Um, just like a digital trace, whether you're going to be here this moment, or somebody comes in after you, or this is us leaving off our print every time we come in here, and hopefully a commitment to listening, hearing, and becoming more. But yes, I had a lot of life struggles. Struggled with a lot of different things. Alcohol. I've done drugs. I've smoked. I've done coke. I've done a lot of different things. A lot of things I'm not proud of, but also, things that I don't think any of us really think we'll find ourselves in or attached to. Um, Many transitions to get to this place where I'm at here right now. I've been through the fire, and the fire is where you get either purified or what you believe crumbles you, burns you, turns you to dust, right? So I think it's all worth getting into the fire to get to where we're going so that we may be purified and come with a more purified perspective. But I think it also depends on what contents you're putting into the furnace. So let's pay attention to that, So I value honesty and respect and truth above all. Logical purifier of truth, I will call myself. I like to sit like to think about it. I like to rest on it. I like to reason and adjust the ins and outs and life and both sides of the fence. So sometimes I'm wrestling, as you would say, to come out with that truth, right? And I believe there's a core truth to everything. Things we run away from often, way too often, is the core truth. Because a lot of times that core truth guides us to a change. That core truth directs us to move differently. Um, and they're not oftentimes the things we want to change to obtain, right? Um, but yeah, that's just a little bit about myself and why I'm here. And I look forward to just continuously getting together to elaborate, to rub shoulders. So be feel free at any point to share your story, your journey. I think we all need to know. You know, sometimes we get to a place where we think one is better than the other. Or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. But yet we still all sit in this same broken place each and every day, trying to find reason, trying to find happiness. Oh, I'm happy, and we just continue to these lies and illusions that we live in each and every day. Because there's no way, unless we just completely walk blindfolded, that we believe that this is just a place for happiness. And I do believe, like love, it's in the eye of the beholder. But I do believe that we can't lie to ourselves to behold what we want, because we don't really sit with ourselves. So this is a place where I want to be able to sit. And with that, brothers and sisters, children of the furnace, those who are willing to become more and be more, um, hey, let's get at it. This is a fight for unity, a fight for truth, that we can become and converse, grow, and elevate. Keyword elevate. As a whole, starting with us as individuals. Oftentimes we think of a world scale. We want things to change dramatically, but the truth is, we don't really want to change ourselves. You know, we look at everything else as wrong, and that's just human nature, right? To this person made me do this, to this, to that. Like, it's always something why we are where we are today, instead of taking some of the initiative on our own selves, right? Excuse me. Um, so it's gonna get hot. It's gonna get hot in here. There's gonna be a lot going on. It's gonna be like that conversation that you needed to have, that you waited too long to have, but you won't get what you want out of it if you don't sit through it, right? Because a lot of this is not just us talking or me just talking or conversing. It's also trying to put stuff on the table so that we can take back home ourselves, that we can take back and sit with it ourselves, that we can think about it ourselves, that we may get to that place of truly growing, truly becoming more, which I think is the beauty of life itself, right? The ability to grow, right? We're not always the same people as time goes, but we can become worse or better. And I like to look at things in context as in pieces, and I like to look at things in the context as a whole for myself, because I feel like a good meal, you love the preparation, you love the meal, you love when you receive it and eat it, but oftentimes we don't take to what goes in that recipe to truly make that what you just got to appreciate. So with this life, I feel like it's the same way. We want to look at things in a whole, or look at them in a, oh wow, there's these pieces that we like, but we never want to break it down to see, right, or to see what's wrong. Um, so with that, we got the intro to self, purpose of podcast. Something I wanted to just get out there and kind of briefly get with. And like I said, I just kind of I like to roll, so I want to keep it going so that we can expound and grow together, and I can elaborate more and more and relate to you more through time and as we grow together. So let's start cranking that heat up. With the first subject, for me, it's always a touchy subject. But I like to have this conversation because I think sometimes want to run, we want to run from faith, right? We want to run, like, we want to have it, but then we don't want to have it. And I don't think we actually sit down with it long enough. I know a lot of us believe we do, but I don't think we do. But it's just a good question to have because I think there's also something that separates us as people. So with that, I mean, the first question that I have that I'm going to put on the table, that I'm going to put into the furnace, is: does God exist? Does he exist? And if so, if God does exist, is he the God of the Bible, or she, as you know, the God of the Bible? Um, however you want to perceive that. So that's just something I want everyone to sit with. And if you can, leave a comment. Like I said, also don't forget to subscribe if you can. Just to stay connected so that you can grow with us. Um, that I can grow with you, that we can grow with each other. So, we all start from somewhere. Here it is. I'm starting from scratch, starting in the basement, starting with hope, starting with purpose, starting with a vision. But that vision includes all of us. It includes everyone that's willing to get into this fire. So, yeah, back to the question: does God exist? And if so, is he the God of the Bible? For me, I think it's very obvious to see, yes, God does exist. The God of the Bible does exist. I am a believer. I do believe, for me, from what I've learned, from what I've known, but I'm not um, unaware of a lot of different things. I also had the blessing of having so many different conversations and growing up with others who believed in other things. I had a best friend who, they believed in a lot of Hinduism and things like that. So I learned about Ra and all these other things, which was a blessing. Though it was a blessing, and I never looked at it as something that, even at the time as a kid, I didn't see it as a division. They've even went to church with me because that was kind of a rule at my house. Hey, they can stay the night, but they're gonna have to go to church. So they got that experience, right? So it's a blessing having these experiences to have. But with that being said, I love fantasy. I love mythology. I'm really into all this stuff. I'm not your typical Christian, I guess you would say. I don't like. Uh, that's the only label I can put on it, as a follower of Christ. Um, you know, um, I've had the blessing of learning and seeing more from different perspectives just because I'm naturally drawn to it. Um, Learning about, the Egyptians and the pyramids and, the Nephilims and the giants and, from every aspect you want to look at it, from the Bible and the sons of man, the sons of God and the daughters of men, like all these different things have I been into. The Dead Sea Scrolls. It's just me to want to know. That's really what I'm trying to put out there. So I understand, you know, different concepts. Um, the universal belief, that it's the universe connection. I believe in the energy, life, the life force. Like I can see it and I can understand it from someone that does. So however that you do, however that you may, like I said, we're all here. I want to go back and read comments. I want to go back to see other things to dive into, other perspectives. So, this is not, please don't get on here. I will block you. Don't come in here with that energy of downing anyone, uh, putting anyone down for their views or thoughts, because this is not that space for that. This is a place of, honestly, it's the fire, but it's love. I think love is a purifying fire, and that it bonds and connects, that allows us to grow. And love always brings the best out of that which it loves. And that's a whole nother subject because we're talking about the purity of love, not the love in which I think we always understand it today. Um, but yeah, so, speak your mind. I want to hear your perspectives. I think everyone deserves the opportunity along their journey to grow. So without us, reaching out to each other or speaking about, our different ways or Buddhism or any of these different things. Because I also believe in concepts and look at different things that other, I guess, religions. I hate the word religion, but other religions do that a lot of Christians don't do, right? But I think should be doing. And that's a whole nother subject on its own. I'm not trying to go there. So let's just stick with, answering the question. If you get a chance to um, drop that, that thought, and so we can all go through and kind of see where and pick what hearts and minds are here and how we're here to, we just may rub shoulders. That's how people get to know each other. What do you do? I'm an engineer. I'm this. I'm that. We might have two opposing jobs. Doesn't mean we have to hate each other, but we can learn from each other with the right heart and the right mind. So, that's the one question. But I'll speak my truth of why I believe that God does exist and the God of the Bible exists. And I think for me, it's just to sum it up as short as I can. It's just in the context in which the Bible was written. And I know a lot of people say it was written by man, but we can believe in a lot of different things. We can believe in possessions. We can believe in people, spiritual things and other spiritual things, knocking over stuffs in our houses and lifting up our chairs and all these other things. But we can look at the cosmos and create other gods just because of how fascinating it is and our desire to want to understand it and connect while we're here, right? Because we're human. We're like this special creation here, and we want to really understand that. So we create a way to connect with it and understand this powerful force in which we're around every day. This magical force. Just looking into the stars and gazing just leaves your mind to wonder. And I feel like scripture, the word of God, is the only thing that has ever really connected us, humanity, and to a reason and to a purpose. And that purpose is in love, depending how you read it and how you receive it. And I think that's why you have to seek and dig to really know. You can't stop at every snag or snare. Okay, so that's for me, and that's why when I sit with something, I do go through a lot of adjusting and sitting with. I'll ponder on it for a while, and I'll go through all these different things, and I'll research, and because I want it to make sense to me, and honestly, even since a child, as I said before, I've had this blessing. I feel like I've had a blessing on my life and a reason uh, to be, and then that didn't always make sense as the journey took because of all my transitions. But with that, I never really questioned God, even though I went through my searchings and, hey, I was into everything, minotaurs and all that. And I wanted to hold truth to it. I love comic books, and you want to put forms of truth on these things, right? Superhuman beings. And you want to be, a lot of us want to be a part of that group, right? We want to see if we have that power. We would love to have it, right? But with that, I don't want to go too far. I just like to say, still fill in gaps along the way of myself, so people can really kind of get a context of me, right? Um, but yeah, I feel like the Bible's the only thing that really declares, as God is saying in the beginning, what is done. It's not like, hey, once upon a time and all these other things. That God is really declaring, and as it sets it forth, you can see everything coming into motion. It talks about the Spirit of God literally moving across and basically breathing life into everything as He spoke it. Um, and so you see the connection between the Spirit and between God, and you know what I mean. And so then man comes, right? And then, the man and woman, and then he says, hey, but let me make it a little bit more specific. So I did create man and woman. Now I'm going to break it down and how personal it was to me and how I did it. And then He formed us, and then He did this, and then He breathed life into our nostrils, and then He saw that, so I mean, you can read it if you want to go on. I just think that it's the only thing for me that logically literally declares, and I know it's unlogical to think about like God or anything, but I feel like we literally think about everything else, and it's okay. We could think about every possible supernatural thing and be just fine with it. But if we think about God, it's just like, oh no, and far as universe, I don't have a problem with people who believe in the universal belief. But for me, is my God created the universe, so the purpose that's in everything was declared that my God established it to be and to be so. The fact that it is moving with expanding at an according rate as things speed up, as as you look, I just feel like the Bible declares so much of that connection, of filling that gap with God, as well as understanding why we kind of are the way we are today and where we are. And I haven't read anything else anywhere that really signifies why we're so vastly disconnected as people and so quick to rebel against the right things to do, and how easily we can find pleasure in doing so. So, for me, that's why I rest on that. So that's just my piece. Like I said, speak your piece. Like I said, would love to hear and would love to even answer some questions if I can. And if anybody has any references, just leave. It's let's, like I said, let's open that world up, because we all deserve the opportunity to find that solace and clarity along our own journeys. You know what I mean? The objective is that we become better, right? That we love better, that we connect better. We can become better mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and just human beings, right? So please, let's open it up. You ain't got to hold back. Just be respectful as we do so. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna let y'all do that, and so I'll move forward. And attached to this comes other questions, right? So I guess another question that I have is having a faith better than none. I'm gonna let that sit just for a second. Is having faith better than none? And I know, and the reason I think that this question also comes about, because not only, of course, does God exist, and is it the God of the Bible? I think that's also kind of just an open topic, because we all find ourselves in different views. So it's good to just kind of figure out where we are as well. Excuse me. But we usually have to believe in something, right? Either believe in yourself, or we have to have some form of faith, right? Isn't faith just a typical thing that we have to have as human beings to continue, right, for the next day? Faith that we're going to catch that deer the next day when we hunt for dinner and feed our families, right? Like, there had to be something that gives us hope. For me, but I'm wondering for you, do you believe that is faith necessary at all? Like, when you look at your life, you look at things, do you believe you need faith in anything? So, like I said, comment it. I will go through them, and hopefully these kind of line up to the questions for the most part. So that as we go through them, everyone can kind of receive them from the aspect in which they're being presented. So, like I said, the question again is having faith better than none. I believe, obviously, faith. I believe it takes some type of faith on whatever perspective. You have to have faith. Without faith, I believe we find ourselves just doomed in general. Like, without hope, uh, and hopelessness breeds lawlessness. And I believe we're beginning to see a society that's a little bit further away from faith, uh, a little bit more hopeless, I would say. Um, Only in that, I mean, in the context is you can see the lawlessness, right? I believe it just becomes, like I said, when desperation sets in, right? Like, I mean, we all seen movies, right? Desperation sets in on Mount Everest. I gotta eat you, buddy. Sorry, right? Just kind of do the unhuman thing. We start doing other things, right? For survival. So I believe just kind of just not having faith in general breeds negativity, right? It just breeds the worst of us. It's like a kid that if your kid doesn't have faith or hasn't been raised to believe in themselves. You could see the challenges that child will face, right? And you're trying to get them to believe in themselves. And I mean, for me, you just hope you're not the one that planted that seed. Um, but I believe faith is necessary. So you let me know how you feel on that context. And so the next attachment would be our why do our beliefs separate us to a point of complete division? Why is it from what we believe do we find ourselves so vastly separated as human beings and people, right? It's like arch rivalries, like football. I guess that's why we love football and all these things so much, right? We just love the rivalry of it all. Um, we just want to find a reason to compete. I'm right, you're wrong, and a reason to let something so simple, I think, sit that we let it divide us. Because I don't. Why does somebody's belief or way of living dictate the way that I treat them? So I think that's a very scary thing. I think that's something that we should all really, really just think about. All really just sit there and ponder that thought. Like, why is it because they choose to use, I don't know, whatever. It's so many different things, and I don't like it. Why can't I just stand them? Why do we let our preferences separate us so much? So that's just another thing. And also think about what in your life, what is something that is simple that you're allowing to separate you and divide you, whether it's in your own home, family, or society. Because I think those are all contexts to look at. Because sometimes there's a lot of people that will connect with society and disconnect at home, right? Find reasons to do all this. It's like personas. We put on different ways and where we want to be and what efforts we want to put in, what parts of our life we want to put them in, basically. But like I said, why do our beliefs separate us to a point of complete division? And what does that lead to? What does that lead to? Where does that put us? We see it today in the world: Republican, Democrat, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. Like it just the list goes on, and red light, green light, blue light. Whatever. We just find reasons to separate. Um, I mean, you could be at work. The receiving team's upset with the shipping team, and the shipping team doesn't like the receiving team, and there's never no cohesiveness. It's like this world continuously breeds this either dog eat dog mentality, which always breeds the worst out of us. Like I said, because once you take faith out of everything and only put everything up into standards of action, people are always gonna. If you want to try to make yourself elite, or you want to try to make yourself, obviously nobody wants to look like the one that's low, right? Because we're taught that that's not okay. So if we're trying not to look like that, then we compromise everything, right? We start compromising morals, we start compromising everything for a false narrative, I guess, in a sense, like a false belief. Because in a way, you kind of transfer one belief to another belief of living, even if you don't really even notice it. Uh, I mean, it gets deep, so I can kind of keep going down these routes, but it's really just to kind of just continue to smooth that rock, continue to turn that heat up until we're feeling the heat to really grab these things and really say, hey, why is this? Why is this like this? Because we know they're not right. I should not be hating this person to the point of death or anything because of this one thing. And as a human being, it doesn't give me the right to just dictate life or who's low or who's high off of anything, right? And especially not a belief. Um, and because it can be wrong beliefs. And that's why I said, even if you believe in something, if you hold it up logically to a standard of world living and a standard of being and existing, does it make sense? I think it like, when you look at the Nazis or the KKK or anything like that, right? Like, how can you at all believe in a world vast like this, in which we now that everything's coming out, we know how integrated this world is, how much apart people of color have been, black folk, however you want to take it. Look, I'm gonna say what it is. Have been integrated. Africa, all the continents were attached to Africa. So it's we're learning so much, but so much is I think hidden, and now that they're being more revealed, we can just kind of look at it from a different perspective. But to sit there and know all that knowledge and then still try to submerge another race, right? Does that just like how does that? Why is that even there? Why isn't there just, why can't we just all like coexist? Why can't I want for your family the best for your family the way you want for mine? Why can't my family eat the way your family eats when we all have been here? We all have tilled this land. We all have done something to be here and exist and have, right? And why can't I be your friend? Why can't I help you when your tire goes flat? Why can't you help me when mine go flat? Like, what is it that has to be this division? So it's just something I want us to really just think about, and what are the things that bring us to that? And is humanity broken? With another thing that I had attached here, or another question, is humanity broken? And I think, like I said, continue to write, continue to leave a message, um, subscribe. Would love the support, just to continue doing this. And like I said, hopefully you can see that I'm very passionate about this. I'm new to this, and I don't do a lot of hooping and hollering, but I can get very passionate about what I believe and feel. And this is something I believe is not only do I feel, but I know is detrimental. Right? There's certain things you just know. Um, and if we can start to change on different scales and levels as people, from different races and colors to just one banner of humanity, right? One grand creation, we can begin to flip the tides, right? We can be able to, excuse me, um, I ate some pizza, man. Getting older now, it just hits you different. But now, but being real, I think just really looking at our life to get to where we're going, because we know there's something wrong. And is humanity broken? And yes, you might have different views. Leave them. Leave your comments. Leave your thoughts. But if for me, yes, I believe that humanity is broken. I believe the Bible says it. I believe that I don't even need anything to visually see it. I see connection, see the way people treat each other, to see the way we value love, to connect us to animals. To me, hey, look, I'm not knocking you for what you believe, but when I look at human beings, we're very, very uh, a marvelously creation. Like, we're just differently made than every other creation, and I don't care how similar they can compare us to. We are not monkeys. We are not any of these things. We didn't derive from these things, um, and it's just clearly seen. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know when you're being fed crap, right? And you look at how blessed we are and how wonderful we are and how we can think. I mean, concepts. I mean, to the point where we can even. I mean, look at all the good we can do and look at all the bad we can do. But it's just because our minds, you can't, from nuclear power, like, just, I mean, it's a vast thing that we're able to do. How we're able to think, how we're able to process our emotions. And this is why I believe in God and just that creation, that He created us in His image. But even with that, it doesn't see that something so beautiful that at this point of life is so ugly, vain, and just lost. Like, just what are we even doing half the time? And you look and you're like, what? If you actually look at it and say, when did this become at any point a concept of life? And I'm not saying it's just this generation. I'm not saying that it's been an unfolding through time. I believe that this destruction has been here. The pain has been here. The hurt has been in here. The slavery has obviously been here. War has been here. Um, and I know people talk about different things, but I don't ever believe there was ever really a peaceful time of life. Only because I realized that there's a disconnection of it. But I believe there was a more peaceful time of life. More, at least I would say, like, I always tell people this: would you rather have lived a fulfilled, loved life and die at 30, or a very suffering, regretful life and die at 80? And I know it's a weird question to ask, but it's just like, but if you could be fulfilled on every level, be loved and be all these things and be at peace in such a way, uh, and die at 30, 40 years old, um, and have done a lot because of just the purposing that comes through all of that, right? So you more than likely you've done a lot and received it, and the context that it would have. When you tasted things, you appreciated because you had the appreciation. You really appreciated life. So much. There's so much more in that, right? So even that death at 30 and 40, you're just more complete, even than a person that has died at 80 that hasn't lived that way, and has more regrets, and just a very, very, every day is just that bitter. And I think we're getting to a place where that's really where we are today, where we're getting very, very, in a very, very bitter place. And to the point where I even see people latching on to anything, right? Anything that's valuable now. Like, I mean, plenty of things are missing. A lot of things are diluted. But we're just grabbing on to anything, and we're trying to once again place value on certain things. But I think because we lost perspective of what those mean, for me, it's because we lost God in our lives, and what that means. Leave a comment on what you believe that is. But we've just lost this real connection. And so now spending time with your wife or your significant or your loved one, I think we don't even really value those moments the way that we should. The way somebody's eyes crinkled up when they smiled, and their laugh, and the way they talked, or the way they, just I just don't think we really take those moments in. Now we're kind of like, especially now that things move fast, we're just breaking everything down to really quick pieces, and we feel like if we can capture everything on our devices, that that we somehow capture time itself. And just think the appreciation level goes down, right? It's like saying I didn't taste the food, but my phone did. So in a way, I tasted it. Not only that, I saved it, so I can always get some diluted form of what that felt like, right? But you don't get the warmth from that person. You don't get all these things. So I think that's where we're losing that race. And through that brokenness, so many different things are happening, and we can go from a global scale, society, just communication with people, the ability to just quickly cause someone harm, just all the arguing. And I love the way scripture puts it for me, because it talks about in the end times of weeping and gnashing of the teeth. And I believe that as time goes on, there's been weeping and gnashing of the teeth, and weeping and that. And then as you look now, it just continues to increase, where all you get is either somebody's crying, scream, or they're gnashing of the teeth, they're screaming, hollering, yelling, and that's just where we are today. We either are really sad or really angry. And that's where you see most people, whether they're driving on the road, and everybody's caught up in their own worlds. There's just no real love for life itself. And it's like we're not even sharing this world, really. We're competing for it. Just something to think about. So yes, for me, humanity is broken, and that's the purpose of this furnace. That's the purpose of this place, to really just bring these things to the heat, to the light, to put them under that fire, put them under that pressure, so that we can sit there and really think about it. Think about ourselves. Am I broken? I always say this to people, like, it's like an alcoholic. Until an alcoholic or a drug addict admits they're a drug addict or an alcoholic, they cannot get help. They cannot get help. Am I broken? Yeah, I'm broken. I'll tell anybody that I'm broken. But each day I'm healing and I'm becoming better. And because only through my admittance of being broken and needing help, and that I'm not perfect, and my willingness and my intentionalness and the purposing upon me um, allows me to become a better person and see things and see people differently than I would normally see them. And that was a fact. Because normally I won't always be a people person. Normally, um, sometimes I get tired of people. People just because of the lack of all those different things. And then they make you want to hold those same feelings towards them, right? So it's like this effect. But I know instinctively that's not me. Even as a child, I always stood up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. And I was raised that way as well. I always rooted for the underdog. I'm an underdog person. Even when I know all the odds are stacked, right? Um, I guess that's why I'm doing this podcast, right? Because obviously, I know the odds are stacked against me and the things that I'm even bringing to the table. But I believe there's a purposing, there's a hand upon me that will lead me through all those things. But I also believe there's a purposing upon all of this and each and everybody that's going to lend a ear. Um, but we must first come to a place of realizing that we're broken and the things around us are broken. And if we come from broken people, and I'm not saying we have bad parents and none of that, we just have to come. We do a lot of things wrong. So if we come, broken things can only create other broken things. Without guidance, trying to do it on our own, that we can somehow figure it out. I'm sorry, y'all. We haven't figured it out. We don't got this. Human beings do not got this. I mean, look at me. Look me in my eyes. This is we ain't got this. Please quit telling yourself that you got this. Quit telling yourself that somehow that you have the power to conjure up a formula that centuries no one could conjure up. That's going to fix this, fix you, and fix all these other things, and bring happiness and bring peace. You don't have it. And that's for me. That's why I said Scripture says without God, it's where we lack that. We lack compassion. We lack all these other things and all these other parts to a formula. Like if you're, I had a pastor that said this, Pastor Jones. I love and respect him. Had had a journey there, but with that, it was just there's something he said. If you have a BMW, you're not gonna take it to another shop to get fixed. You're gonna take it to the BMW, to the people that made that vehicle. And I feel like we constantly go to all these other things that they didn't have a hand in our creating. Now, our conforming, yes, but they didn't have a hand in our creating. So if we're sitting here trying to manufacture our own formulas or going to other broken things for help, I don't even think there's a problem with therapists. But at the same time, at the end of the day, that person is just as broken as you are. You just don't realize it. That therapist might have a therapist. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's deeper, and if we can begin to get more in touch with ourselves and our inner selves, our spiritual selves, and making a real connection and attempt, right? I'm not telling nobody to go, hey, you need to go look at the God of the Bible, but start making real live attempts to spiritually connect. And I'm not talking about smoking peyote and taking shrooms and all these other things, because I believe the mind is a very terrible thing to waste. I'm not saying there isn't any smart people that do these things, but I believe there's always a crack or a fracture or something that happens from these things. You can't get me to believe anything else. I don't believe there's healing in that process. But Norm, I'm saying I'm completely against it, because I know we all have a right to believe what we do. But I think when you see the truth is sobering itself. And so I don't believe you're going to obtain a sober thing in an unsober place for me. All right. So I apologize if I did offend anybody. I'm just trying to make a point that truth is very sobering. It's like learning something for the first time in your whole world. It just that when you find that connection, it's very, very, very sobering. So I don't believe for a doubt that that you're going to receive it in any other mind state. But yes, until we come to that place of realizing that we cannot grow, until we realize that we need help, we cannot grow. How do we get here to a place where survival outweighs the intentionality of doing and being good? Like, where do we get to a place of just surviving outweigh us intentionally being good people? Like, where's our desire to be good? Do you wake up wanting to be good, not to have a good day? See, there's a difference. Most people wake up to have a good day. That's a selfish mind. I'm not saying that I don't want wake up wanting to have a good day. What I'm saying though, I also have to wake up intentionally wanting to not only have a good day but be good in the day to my children, and the way I walk, the way I talk to my wife, how I speak, to how I reflect and reset and recheck myself in different situations to be and be the best, to bring the good into the day and into the lives of those that I love. So there's an intentional work here. I don't just wake up and then when that one thing doesn't go my way, get the opportunity to give up and say, "I mean, I can." I'm not saying I haven't. So it just, this is the process of growth and learning. But I don't get to just give up and on the day and go back into arguing and I'm from Texas, put on my zero and I try to stay away from anything that's going to reform or reshape my mind. So I really don't even listen to that type of music because I really believe in all that stuff. So allowing even other things to keep me there, you know, that all those things dictate my day. I just think, I don't know, it just feels kind of childish now that I'm older. Uh, but I even realize grown people are like that. Like there is a lot of grown kids out here. And I'm looking at the camera and I'm saying it. Some of y'all are just grown kids. And I'm not saying this to offend you. I'm saying this that you have to realize that you have a lot of the qualities that you're getting on your child about. I had to check myself plenty times. How can I tell them if I'm still doing this? Am I leading by example? What earn, and I think sometimes we think that we earn a right for, trying to think of the right word. Yeah, I don't want to offend nobody. But I think that we earn the right to be right or wrong when we want to. By, being older, paying bills and things like that. And I think that's a problem. And that's why we continue to face the challenges we face with our kids and with our youth. Because they're like, hey, well, why can't I do it? What do you mean I haven't earned it? I'm 18 now. I'm 15 now. I got hair down there now. I'm this now. So, I believe we're our own worst enemies. And that's why I said we're all broken and we all need help. So I'm really just here to put these things in the fire, bring them to the light, bring them to the table so that we can really sit and rest with it. Because even if we can start making changes, the minute changes in our lives, then I believe the biggest results will come up. And if each and every one of us begin to do this, we can slowly begin a very, very important process in life. But we have to first admit to what we're wrong, what we're doing wrong, what things are taking away from our lives and not adding. And I talk to my kids about it all the time. And anything I talk to about with my kids or anybody is because I really talk to myself about it too. Is it adding or subtracting? Does it really have value? Or am I adding value to something that doesn't have value? So I think life comes into that place a lot. So yes. I know I said a lot, probably said a mouthful, but that's just to reflect on. Like I said, let me know your point of views. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. I'm not here to hurt yours, but we are here to grow. And I would love to just, like I said, if there's other subjects to touch on, or somebody has something to say or add to what I said, I would just love to hear it. So make sure you leave that, drop that dime, drop that jewel. I'm gonna consider everything valuable until it isn't. And let's just keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep rocking. Let's keep rolling. Let's turn that heat up. Let's turn the heat up. You know what I'm saying? Throw them coals, shake them coals up, get it burning. Because I feel the heat. I feel the heat, and I feel some good things going to come up out of it. I feel that gold's going to get purified. I feel some minds are going to be changed. My second subject that I would like to talk about today in the furnace is, what is our view of the world, and is ours a given view, And does it fit into the box of obtainable, sustainable living for generations of humanity after us? I'll read that again. What is your view of the world? And is your view a given view? And does it fit into the box of obtainable, sustainable living for generations of humanity after us? I'm gonna let you sit on that. I know sometimes we gotta sit on something. We can't. Sometimes we gotta let it hit. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna read it one more time. I just feel it needs that third time's a charm on it. So, what is your view of the world? And is your view a given view? And does it fit into the box of obtainable, sustainable living for generations of humanity after us? And I said humanity, not a race, after us. I think it's very important. It's very important because sometimes a lot of us, just like racism, just like a lot of these different things, these views we have were given to us. And we can even say about Christianity, and that's why I said I think it's even very important that you actually have done your own research and your own discovering. And I believe that's why it's important for the furnace so that people can bring up and shed light on different religions and different things in a loving manner. um, Nobody's asking anyone to give up anything, but I believe when it's time to let something go, you let it go. When you find out something is right, it's right, and you let the thing you were doing that was wrong go. And if you don't, then the two will cancel out, and you're gonna just be right back where you started. So, this is not to change anyone and oh, hey, you need to make these changes. It's just for us to really just sit here and, excuse me, get some of this water here. You get to talking, get the desert mouth. Mm, some restoration. Um, we just, our different. I forgot what it was on that one, but it's. But we don't realize that our views sometimes can be given. Like that's where I was. Just like racism, all these different things. We know they're taught. We know a lot of these things to learn. Hatred and what we like, our dislikes. All of us have been in some way shaped by the world we live in, by the circumstances in which we live in. Black community can attest for that. We're shaping by a lot of things. But I love the beauty of life is because we have a choice to reshape, right? We have a choice to grow. We have a choice to learn. And so that's where we're at with it right now. I just want you to reflect on your own personal point of view. And does your personal point of view align up to the purification and elevation of the furnace? You know what I mean? I just trying to throw it out there. Like, is it on point in the direction of becoming and being more? Because I believe if just setting a course allows for others to follow, and it sets course for a generation of people, and that doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, any other color. I don't, I don't want. I almost said something else, but all these different colors, whatever you want to put it. We're human beings. We're here together, and our point of views really shape a lot of different things. And I think that goes back to even, like I said, our beliefs. And our beliefs, a lot of them are contested through our point of views. But some of our stuff is just like stuff we like and dislike because we're around a family that like or dislike. And then later on, you tried and you're like, I can't believe it took me this long to try this. Or I can't, I remember my dad, and I used to always wear long socks, and he started wearing short socks, and I like my long socks, and I didn't want to wear the short socks, and I don't know why. This was that time, I'm 40, so it was at that little point in time when, for a short while, where wearing the long socks was still cool, but that was my style either way. So I'm rocking these long socks, and I didn't want to wear them other socks, but then slowly but surely, I tried them on, and I started I want to wear the short socks, and then it's just other little things that he would be doing or showing me his cologne, things that I wasn't really just into, here it is. Now he ain't got enough cologne because I'm robbing him for his cologne. Uh, but I just think, like I said, when we have a perspective or point of view, and sometimes we don't always know why we have it. Oftentimes, it's those things that still can um, stop us from being open enough to receive a blessing, to receive something new, the opportunity, which is the blessing of just life itself. So, I like to think of things, like I said, is it adding or subtracting? Because if we're looking at leaving behind something for a generation behind us of people, are we leaving something like now? I believe that we're leaving a point of seeking the happiness um, that hasn't been obtainable for most of us and most of mankind and most of people, at least definitely here in America, um, that are still seeking, trying to have a house, the cars, the this, the that, da 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 da, calling this systematic, um, which is a whole nother conversation for another day. But this systematic um, system that was set forth, right? So, and it's not really obtainable, right? We know that, especially if you're starting from the bottom, right? For us who really know what that bottom is, and for us who just, I'm sure most of us now, the struggle. It's like a lot of these things are not really obtainable, and then when you do obtain them, have you really obtained them, right? So we know that for a fact. So are we leaving a view for our children to come to have an obtainable, sustainable living for generations and humanity after us? That is the point of what I'm saying. So think about what you're doing with your children and your household, or even with your life right now, no matter where you are, even if it's just college or anything, is the way you're thinking, right? Because the blessing is having opportunity to grow. Nobody's saying this happens overnight, but it's saying to taking the time to say, hey, what am I doing? Does this make sense? Is this the way that we're supposed to live? Is this the way that I'm supposed to think? It's the way I'm supposed to treat people. It's the way I'm supposed to act or react to a situation. Going through all your processes, you know what I'm saying? So that's this subject is just you dropping the dime, dropping the jewel, leaving your thoughts on your point of view, whether either you see is right now or you see is wrong now, or it's something that you're open to looking at, and why. Because we're all here, and I'm not saying everything's wrong. I mean, we can look at, I think sometimes we look at when we're around success, like some of us might come from family that has success, so we're like, oh no, this is the course because this family has success and this family has, we've had homes and they got a beautiful home and everybody's followed this trail. But, we're not always looking at are they really successful, right? They just have acquired the things. And I'm not knocking anybody saying there's anything wrong with that. I believe that that's a wonderful thing to have worked hard and done anything in your life. But I'm just saying sometimes we look at the wrong things as actual success, especially in this world, right? Like everybody wants to be a king. Everybody wants to be on top. And I know, like I said, I am your host, King Alba. But, there's a king of kings in which I submit to. And I'm king of my mind, right? It's something that I'm fighting for. And I submit to the king of kings, which I'm submitting to a higher calling and purpose, right? For my. All right. Sorry for the interference, but like I said, back to just like I said, a higher purpose and calling for my mind. So I believe it's in the end is, are we in a transformative place that's logical and makes sense and creation, right? Even people that believe in, with the nature and everything, which I believe we're connected to as well. But how do we fit into that system? And we don't really see ourselves fitting to that system, even if we look at the way we treat the world now, right? So, with that, just take the time. I just pray that everybody takes the time to weigh the pros and cons, weigh the pros and cons of the way you think and the way that you're living. Is it right? How do we grow if we don't? Is there things we should put more dedication to as an individual for a healthier living and becoming a better person and becoming the person that you can be, and hopefully everyone that comes here, there's some sense of desire for that. That's the point of the furnace. And even if not, I hope it gets hot enough that it melts some of that away that's keeping you from wanting that change or seeing that change possible. And I think when we look at it on the ground scale, some of us get discouraged, and I hope this being a place, for us to rub those shoulders, for us to come together, will give us an opportunity to see that there's other people that really want that too. So, hey, may soldiers come out of the furnace. That's what I want. Soldiers to come out of the furnace. People fighting for life, fighting for their mind, fighting for their purpose, getting in tune with their spiritual side and connection to something higher and bigger. And what that is for you, so there's a reason why I platform it that way and lay it out that way. But ultimately, what we do and what we believe should show a difference in our lives, should bear fruit in our lives in a certain way. So if you say that you believe this or you're seeking peace, there should be peace seen in your life. So hopefully we can get to that point of really just seeing that these things can develop into our lives and in the way that we live and the way that we treat, that we can also too be different, right? In a world of hate, can love exist? And it can through you and me, right? Excuse me. But with that, I'm gonna let y'all go. I appreciate the time. Appreciate just being able to get here. Appreciate everybody that even takes the time to come in. I really look forward to just continuing this growth. And once again, may we meet in the furnace. May we become bigger than our day-to-days. And, be more than the things that look to stop us from becoming. I know there's a lot of challenges that we have as people, but here's where I think we can make things happen. And like I said, a lot of things happen minutely that are very significant. And I think that this is one of those minute things, those small things that make a big difference. And that's just tuning in, self-reflecting, day-to-day, just things we can grow to do in our own life process. That concludes episode 1. So, like I said, appreciate it. Much love. Be dropping the next episode soon that we can turn that heat up and continue to go and hopefully have some more very interesting subjects. Well, I will have very touching, interesting subjects because, there's no other way to turn the heat up than touching on things that we feel very sensitive about, because we can get very sensitive. But I think getting sensitive, hopefully we can come out stronger on the other end. There's a right and wrong. There is no middle. I don't believe in it. You can't make me believe it. There's either right or wrong. I know today that's a little different to see. I just think that makes it easier for us to bypass a lot of things and not have to take accountability for a lot of things. And this is for those that want to take accountability, want to learn, want to grow, and even if you do think that way, just getting to a place of hearing and knowing what it means, because we are accountable. I do believe in being your brother's keeper. We have, in the way that we live, we're all affected in some way. Take the time to read others' comments, see their thoughts, their views. That we can just rub shoulders, get an understanding with each other, and that's okay. That's okay. We might learn something new and become, that better person, that better brother, that better husband, that better wife. You just don't know what's to come out, but continue to come into this heat so that you can come out a little more purified than you were before. Not seeking is the only problem. Settling is our disaster. So let's not settle, but let's seek to grow. Out the fire and into the wind, and until God brings us back again. Be blessed, be real, never reshape truth. It is what it is. Deuces.